In this video, I'm going to be talking about a method that you can use to make tails like these. And when I look at it, this doesn't really look like a tail. It doesn't look like the colors group up correctly. It doesn't look like things are going to pop really. But if you watch it pop, everything just kind of pops. So, and then you end up with an all clear. So I think these tails look really cool. And there's actually a method you can use to build tails like this. And what you need to understand is these three column shapes, specifically the ones on the right, and I'm going to call them sandwich style shapes because the reds are going to be sandwiched by a different color. So first I would say most people, when they tell, they tend to only use shapes like this on the left where everything pops on the bottom and there's no other color underneath it. But if you use a sandwich shape like one of the ones on the right, there's another color hidden underneath that you can put three of it on top to reconnect to that color and add another link in. So to show how that looks in an actual chain, first I'll show like what I would consider to be the most common way to tell, which is probably something like this. And it works, but every single pop you'll see is one of those shapes on the left. It's not a sandwich shape. So like these yellows are all flat on the bottom. There's no other color hidden underneath. And these greens are all flat on the bottom. There's no other color underneath. These reds are all flat on the bottom. So again, it works. It's not bad. There's not necessarily anything wrong with it. But if you want to be a little bit more flexible or a little bit more fancy or have a little bit more options, you can think about doing sandwich shapes instead. So to convert these yellows into a sandwich shape, you would have to lift one of the sides up and put a different color underneath. And it could be either side or both sides at the same time. And then how you do that in this example is, for example, if you wanted to do it like this, you have to lift this yellow up and put a different color underneath. And I'll use red. And now you'll see when it pops, you get that sandwich shape with the red hiding underneath. And then all you have to do to extend the tail is to add three reds on top, and they're going to fall down and connect no matter where you place them. Like you could even place them like this, and it's going to fall down and connect. But if you want to continue on with that pattern, you could again do another sandwich shape. So instead of doing a flat shape on the bottom, you could do, for example, something like this. This would be a sandwich shape, but in order to actually make that shape, you need two other Puyo to put here and lift it up. So here I'll put a green here, and I could put another green, or I could put a blue. I'll just put a blue to show, and then the reds go on top. So you need two Puyo that will be left over that kind of buffer it up to make that sandwich shape. Now when you pop the chain, you'll see the reds pop in that sandwich shape, and there's the blue and greens hiding underneath. And then you could just put three greens and extend your tail, or three blues and extend your tail. Like you could even do like, oh, that one doesn't connect. But you could put three blues in most spots and it will pop in the tail. And then if you want to continue with the pattern, well, what you have is this at the very end. So let's say I want to do blues as the next link. Well, I already have a sandwich shape if I just do this. So I just need this, this, and this to complete the shape. And now the blues pop in the sandwich shape with the green left over. Now I can do the same thing with the greens, like maybe I want to make this. So I do this, 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 and then again I can use the same color, I can use different colors. I'll use the same color this time just because I used different colors last time. So now I have yellows, and if I want to make a sandwich shape, it would be something like this. So I need that other color, so I can put a red here. And now I'm going to be left at the very end with just a red, and I can do sandwich shape however I want, but I can do this, and I need a color here to buffer it up. I can keep doing this sandwich idea like this, and I can, as long as I didn't mess anything up, it should all pop just right. So when I look at this tell, it's very difficult for me to read what's going to happen. Like at my level, most of the time I can just look at a chain really quickly and see exactly like, okay, this is what's going to pop. This is how long it's going to be, and I just like know these things really quickly. But with a tell like this, it's very hard for me to read what's going to happen. Like it doesn't look like things are going to connect, but if you look, they just all connect, and every single link is one of those sandwich links. And so I showed how you can kind of visualize how to make that. So if you just repeat that process over and over, you can make a tell like this that when you look at the entire picture, it's very difficult to like see the tell, but if you follow the process to make it, then you can pretty reliably make something that just works like this. And again, the thing I want you to focus on is that every single link is a sandwich link. So it has some Puyo of a different color hiding underneath, and then that goes on top to kind of sandwich it. So here the green's hiding underneath, the yellows are underneath, the red is underneath, the blue is underneath, the yellow and green are underneath, and then finish the tell. So to show this again in a different style chain, here's another situation where you might think to tell like this, but then it becomes pretty difficult to continue to tell. Like you could do this, but now you're kind of running out of space. And what you could actually do here is you could also make that sandwich idea starting from here and then just go off of that and repeat it a bunch and make a really big tell in that way. So that would work, but I was going to show it more like tends to be better to already put a different color. So this would be like a 2-column sandwich shape, which also works. So you could do like this, or you could do this, and it could be the same color or a different color. So you can do 2-column sandwich shapes as well. And to show that off here, it would be something like this. Again, I can do the same color or a different color. It doesn't matter too much. But now I can do more. I'm going to run out of space, but it all fits in. So these kinds of sandwich shapes can lead to really interesting looking tells, and they can also help you build when you're not getting the specific color you want. Like if you're really going for these greens, but you're just not getting greens, you can put in like other colors here to and use that sandwich shape idea. So like when you're in a situation where you're just not getting the greens, you can still build your tell in a way that's very strong. Like this would be a very strong way to tell because it has clear ways to use the edge column and clear colors to put there that you could use to extend your chain even further. So you can use the edge column and you can build in a way where you're not really limited. You could just keep on going with the tell if you wanted. Or if you didn't know this idea and you weren't getting greens, you might end up putting pieces like throwing away pieces here, and then you just can't use the edge column at all in your tell, and you lose a lot of space. So that's one advantage of this idea. And then another one is that it's more resistant to early clears. So if you do a regular tell like this and you're trying to tell really big, just make it as big as you can. It's very easy to accidentally make something that pops early, like these reds are going to pop early. And once you get really familiar with it, you start to just know that's going to happen. But until then, it's very hard to tell, like, is this thing that I built is going to work or is it going to pop early somewhere? Like, and just with how the shapes work out, there's a lot more risk of these early pops. So using this sandwich idea kind of protects you from some of the risk of early pops because it the fourth Puyo is cut off from the other ones. So so in each link the Puyo is cut off from touching the other ones. So it's not going to pop early unless now depending on how you do it, like if you have different columns shifting in certain ways, it can be more risky. But if you were to do three column tells or three column shapes only, then it's and only on the same three columns as well, you're going to be really resistant to the early pops because, like, for example, the greens can't pop early because in order to connect, the yellow has to pop first because it's cutting off the greens. And the reds can't pop early because in order to connect, the greens have to pop first because they're cutting off the reds. And that just goes on and on for every link. So in a lot of ways, it's very resistant to these types of early pops, and you don't have to worry so much about it. And then you can just make these really fancy and complicated looking tells. And probably like this. This one, I kind of messed it up. I was trying to get the last blue in, but there's not enough space. But really, I just think these tells are kind of fascinating, and it's fun to watch them resolve. So, so if you find the idea interesting, you could use this method and try and make the same type of tell yourself.